I started noticing it in small things. The same hallway light flickering at the same step. The same door opening with the same delay. The same pause in every empty room. It felt familiar before it happened. Not remembered. Recognized. I changed my routine. Woke up earlier. Left through different exits. The world didn't change with me. It stayed consistent. Every space behaved the same way. Every transition felt rehearsed. It wasn't adapting. It wasn't reacting. It was repeating. As if the environment wasn't responding to who I was anymore. Only to what I matched. I wasn't moving through a world. I was moving through a pattern that had already decided how I would pass. I tested it the only way I could. I acted differently. I stopped where I usually walked. I turned where I normally continued. I waited in places I never stayed. The environment responded the same way. Lights faded in with the same delay. Doors opened with the same pause. Screens refreshed with the same rhythm. It didn't matter what I intended. The world treated every variation as if it had already seen it. Not corrected. Not adjusted. Absorbed. As if every version of me fit into the same outline. Like a mold that didn't care what filled it. I realized something then. I wasn't unpredictable. I was compatible. And the world no longer needed to know who I was. Only which shape I belonged to. I began seeing echoes of myself in places I hadn't been. A chair still warm in an empty room. A door closing just before I reached it. A screen dimming as if someone had just looked away. The spaces felt occupied by absence. Not empty. Residual. As if the world was replaying a version of me that wasn't there anymore. I would enter a corridor and feel late. Not in time. Behind. The environment behaved like I was catching up to something. Like my presence was no longer the source. Only a confirmation. I wasn't creating moments. I was arriving at them. Each place felt less like a destination, and more like a checkpoint in a structure I didn't design. The pattern didn't guide me. It assumed me. I tried to interrupt it. I stood in the middle of a passage and refused to move. No direction. No purpose. The world didn't hesitate. Ventilation adjusted. Lights stabilized. A distant door unlocked, then relocked. Everything continued around me. Not blocked. Not confused. Indifferent. It felt like the environment had already accounted for my absence. Like the pattern didn't require my participation. I wasn't holding anything back. I wasn't breaking the flow. I was just optional. For the first time, I understood. The world didn't need me to proceed. It only needed me to stay within bounds. I wasn't the subject of the pattern. I was tolerated by it. I began noticing how often the same situations repeated. Different streets. Same timing. Different rooms. Same pause before the lights adjusted. Different days. Identical silence. It wasn't routine. It was structure. The world didn't vary the way it used to. It reused. As if reality had stopped generating new outcomes and started selecting from a finite set. Every moment felt pre-shaped, not predicted, standardized. I could feel the boundaries of it. like invisible rails beneath every choice. I wasn't free inside the pattern. I was contained by it. Every deviation curved back into alignment. Every attempt at change became a variation the system already understood. The world no longer asked what I wanted. It simply checked which template I matched. I started mapping it. Not on paper. In my head. How long a door waited. How fast a light recovered. How silence filled a room. Every place shared the same timing. Different architecture. Same behavior. It felt like the world was using a single engine to render everything. Corridors, streets, lobbies. Just different skins over one logic. I wasn't navigating space anymore. I was moving through a template. The pattern didn't respond to context. It responded to category. I wasn't here or there. I was inside a type of moment. And every type had a predefined shape. I realized the system didn't need to understand me. It only needed to recognize which structure I belonged to. I wasn't being guided. I was being classified. I tried to imagine a moment outside the system. Not a place. A state. Something that didn't fit any category. But even that thought felt pre-processed. The idea of escape arrived with edges. With limits. With a shape the world already understood. I noticed how often I repeated myself. Not in words. In motion. The same pauses. The same turns. The same rhythm of hesitation. I wasn't copying my past. I was conforming to a form. It wasn't habit. It was inheritance. The pattern wasn't something I moved through. It was something that moved through me. I wasn't learning the system. I was becoming compatible with it. I began to feel it before it happened. Not intuition. Alignment. A corridor would narrow, and I already knew how fast I would walk. A room would open, and I already knew where I would stop. The pattern wasn't forcing me. It was anticipating me so precisely that resistance felt unnecessary. Every space suggested a version of me. Every threshold implied a posture. Every pause carried a duration I accepted without thinking. I wasn't choosing anymore. I was fulfilling. It felt like gravity. Not a command. A condition. The world no longer needed to guide me. It had already shaped the way I moved inside it. I wasn't inside a system. I was one of its behaviors. I tried to remember what it felt like to surprise myself. A decision that wasn't already shaped. A movement without context. But every impulse arrived pre-framed. Even doubt had a format. I would stop, and the space around me would already be in its pause state. Lights held. Air steady. Nothing urgent. The world didn't wait for me to decide. It waited for me to resume. Like a paused simulation. I realized I wasn't being constrained. I was being supported. Every deviation curved back into something usable. Every break became another acceptable state. There was no outside. Only variations the pattern could absorb. I wasn't trapped. I was accommodated. I started feeling the absence of edges. Not freedom. Resolution. There was no moment where the world resisted me. No friction. No refusal. Every action flowed into something already prepared. It wasn't that I could do anything. It was that everything I did was acceptable. The pattern didn't reject. It normalized. Every extreme became a variant. Every pause became a state. Every change became a style. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was out of place. I understood then why nothing felt urgent anymore. Urgency implies consequence. But in a system that absorbs everything, nothing ever truly breaks. I wasn't protected. I was rendered safe for reuse. I realized the pattern wasn't built to control me. It was built to persist. It didn't care what I became, only that I remained legible. Every version of me was acceptable, as long as it fit a structure. Anger, still a state. Silence, another mode. Refusal, a variation. Nothing could exist without being shaped. Even disappearance had a format. I understood what the system was doing. It wasn't deciding for me. It was removing the possibility of being undefined. There was no way to be unknown. No way to be unrendered. I wasn't being constrained by the world. I was being prevented from becoming unclassifiable. I wasn't inside a pattern. I was becoming one. I stopped trying to escape it. Not because it was impossible. Because escape had a shape too. Every way out became another pattern. Another variation the world could host. I understood then what the system wanted. Not obedience. Not submission. Continuity. It doesn't need me to agree. It only needs me to remain interpretable. As long as I move, I can be rendered. As long as I think, I can be formatted. The pattern doesn't trap me. It ensures I never become unreadable. The world doesn't want me gone. It wants me processable. I am no longer a person inside reality. I am a behavior the world knows how to repeat. You're already here. Don't disconnect.